Welcome to the Maine Department of Education's Pre-K for Me Unit 2 overview. Unit 2 is Friends. Here's a view of the team members of our early learning team at the Department of Education. I'm Julia Raymond, Pre-K Expansion Consultant, presenting this overview. The early learning mission and vision. All of Maine's children are prepared to transition into their adolescent years as healthy, engaged, and inquisitive learners. And the mission, to collaborate with stakeholders to promote the well-being of the whole child, to support children's learning opportunities from birth through the early elementary grades. Unit 2 is Friends. The goals of this Unit 2 overview are to learn the overall unit concepts, connect the concepts to curriculum components such as read aloud centers and small groups, and to gain tips to support instruction and the flow of the unit. So we will learn the overall ideas and concepts. We will have overviews of curriculum components and make connections to those concepts. And we will see Pre-K for Me right in Maine classrooms with images from classrooms here in Maine, and you will learn some suggestions and tips. The big ideas in Friends. Children will explore concepts of friendship and how to be a good friend. Children will explore ways to resolve conflicts with friends. Children will learn the importance of being who you are, helping friends, enjoying time together, and cooperating with each other. Recognizing that play is a primary vehicle for children to develop relationships with each other, adults will provide opportunities for children to play with and learn from each other. They will also support children as they practice social skills and build friendships by helping them enter into play, sustain play, and enhance play. Children will build on their problem-solving skills developed in Unit 1 when resolving conflicts with opportunities to identify feelings, describe problems, and come up with alternative solutions. And the unit concepts of friends. A friend is someone we like and want to spend time with. Friends interact appropriately by cooperating, helping, sharing, and expressing an interest in each other. We can have more than one good friend. We might like to do different things with different friends. Friends help one another. Friends may have arguments and get mad at one another. Usually, friends work out their problems and continue to be friends. Friends share feelings with one another and identify and name emotions of anger, empathy, and sadness by using language to resolve their differences. Friends have shared interests. So what is a friend? A friend is an individual who supports and sympathizes with another individual and is a person on whom that person can confide. Friends welcome each other's company, share activities, regard each other with affection, and trust one another. While learning these concepts specifically related to friends, students will also be introduced to and learning early literacy and early math skills and concepts, as well as social emotional learning. Here are the core read alouds in Unit 2. The first story introduced is The Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. In this story, the little red hen wants to make a pizza, and every time she starts making part of that pizza, she realizes she's missing something important. She asks her friends to help her solve the problem. Students will discover how the problems are eventually solved and see how friends come together at the end of the story. You will discuss potential reasons why the friends did not help the little red hen initially and why students think she still shared with them. And you will connect this to what students think they might have done. You will also ask students to connect the story to times that they have asked friends for help and how it feels when friends do or don't help. The next story introduced is A Letter to Amy. The main character in the story is Peter from Peter's Chair, which students will be familiar with. In this story, Peter is getting ready to celebrate his birthday and inviting friends to his party. He creates a special invitation to his friend Amy. Something happens when Peter goes to mail this letter to Amy that makes him feel worried. Later on in the story, we will see how he feels when she shows up to his party. You will have discussions about why people use invitations, what the characters might have been feeling when Peter bumped into Amy, and when they were together at the party. You will make connections to birthdays and parties that students have had, and connections to things like when bumping into each other happens in their own lives. You will also compare the types of parties in this story to other stories in the unit. The third story introduced is Matthew and Tilly. This story is about two friends who live in the same neighborhood and do all sorts of fun things together. One day, they have a disagreement and stop playing together. We see how they eventually solve this problem. You will have discussions about how the characters likely felt during various parts of the story, discuss name calling and how that can make people feel, and if people can still be friends even if they aren't playing together. You will make connections to students' lives by discussing if they've ever had disagreements with friends and how they've solved it. You will also compare the misunderstandings in this book to other stories. The fourth story we are introduced to in this unit is Dandelion. This is about a lion named Dandelion who gets invited to a friend's party. He decides to dress fancy for this party. When he arrives at the party, his friend won't let him in. You will explore why he wasn't let into the party the first time he arrived, and why when he went back later on, he was let in. You will discuss why his friend, Jennifer Giraffe, didn't recognize him the first time he arrived, but she did recognize other friends. You'll discuss how Dandelion likely felt when his friend didn't let him into the party, and how his friend felt when she discovered the misunderstanding. You'll explore the meaning of some key phrases in this story, such as "come as you are," which is written on the invitation. You also compare the invitation in this story to the one in A Letter to Amy. The last story introduced is Hooray a Piñata. In this story, we meet Clara and Samson. Clara is having a birthday party and gets to pick out a piñata for her party. She picks out one that she likes so much, she doesn't want to use it at her party because she doesn't want it to get broken. Samson notices how his friend feels about the piñata and helps solve this problem. You will have discussions about what Samson did to help solve his friend's problem of not wanting her piñata to break. You will also have discussions about their friendship, what it means to be a good friend, and what students like to do with their friends. You will compare the friendship in this story to other stories in the unit and talk about different ways people might celebrate birthdays. Here we're highlighting supporting vocabulary and language in Read Aloud. This is a view of a Read Aloud lesson plan. You can see vocabulary words highlighted for you. There are sections for each story read. First read, the second, third, and fourth. The Read Aloud lesson plans highlight key vocabulary and include notes for teachers to support you with language, vocabulary, and concept development. Now let's take a look at some Unit 2 centers. Centers to provide wonderful opportunities for incidental teaching and vocabulary development. It's a time to help children make connections back to the core Read Aloud stories and to lessons from Let's Find Out About It and small groups. It's a time to make connections to students' lives and the world around us, as well as to have deep conversations and support their language and concept development. Centers time is really a time for teachers to get engaged with students' play and help them deepen that play. Here we're looking at a center's lesson plan, much like the Read Aloud lesson plan. It highlights key vocabulary. It gives you some suggestion for language. It will also help you introduce the center. There are suggestions for you for when you are engaging with students during the centers, ideas for modeling and guiding questions and discussion ideas, and then ideas for documentation are included in our lesson plans. And you can also see that it includes ideas for provocations to extend the learning. Center language supports. This is another document to help you supporting students' language in centers. There's a document for each of the individual centers available through all the units. They highlight key vocabulary and give examples for conversations and questions during centers. And now into the individual centers, we'll start first with the block center in Unit 2, in which students will participate in building neighborhoods, constructing a playground, transporting food, and adding beautiful stuff. Building neighborhoods. This center connects to the Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza and a letter to Amy. This center provides a great opportunity to compare the neighborhoods in the unit books to those that students live in. Remember to include the resource of different neighborhoods. And then again, a little suggestion here, don't forget to have your students plan and brainstorm their neighborhoods and structures. One great way to do this is to have clipboards with paper and pencils for students to use for planning. Constructing a playground. This center also connects to the Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza and a letter to Amy. Sometimes neighborhoods have playgrounds. Remember, there's a resource for this center with images of various playgrounds. Make connections to the playgrounds at school and other local areas around you. You may want to include a picture of your own playground as inspiration for students. This is a wonderful opportunity for creativity to come in here. Be creative with materials. What could you use to make a slide or a swing? Have students help you brainstorm different materials that could be included in this center. Transporting food. This center connects to the Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza and to Road Builders, which is a book from a Let's Find Out About It lesson. Help students connect previous lessons from stories and let's find out about it. We need highways, like the ones constructed in Road Builders, to transport food to the grocery store so we can purchase the food to bring to our homes to eat. Add food to your block center for the students to transport. Adding beautiful stuff. In here, you make a connection to Hooray a Piñata. Again, you can discuss neighborhoods and adding different structures to neighborhoods with beautiful stuff. This is a great opportunity for children to be creative, building with recycled items and items from nature. Sending in beautiful stuff is a wonderful opportunity for families to donate to your classroom without having to buy items. Dramatization in Unit 2. Here you'll notice that there are only 3 different centers listed in dramatization for Unit 2. Celebrations, grocery store and market, and the barber shop. They tend to be very high interest centers and run a little longer. Grocery store is actually planned for 2 weeks. It includes time to create and set up the grocery store, as well as to engage with it. Celebrations. In this center, you will primarily make connections to a letter to Amy. Peter has a birthday party, which is a type of celebration. Students will decide what type of celebration to have. They can take on the different roles and even create invitations and decorations for their celebrations. There is a resource with a visual of images of celebrations to add to your center for inspiration for students. Grocery store and market. The grocery store and market center connects to Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. She goes to the stores to buy items for her pizza. This center comes up in week 2 and stays into week 3. You will also be able to make connections to Matthew and Tilly. Matthew plays grocery store in that story, but doesn't have as much fun playing grocery store without Tilly. Students will first create and set up the grocery store and then have time to be the grocery store workers and customers. When you introduce the center, you will talk about how grocery store items are sorted and labeled so customers can find them, and you will also discuss the different jobs at the grocery store. And the barber shop. I love the creativity in these pictures in the barbershop centers. This center connects to Dandelion. He goes to the barbershop before going to his friend's party. You will show different pictures of barbershops and hair salons, talking about the different services they can do, and you will make connections and comparisons to Dandelion going to the barber. the art studio and easel in Unit 2. You'll be making stationery, pizza painting, chalk drawings, texture rubbing, sorting beautiful stuff, collaborative paintings, collaborative creations, celebration posters, and crayon resist. We will show you a few examples from art and easel. First, we start with making stationery. This is introduced in week 1 and connects to a letter to Amy. Students will create their own stationery and invitations that can be used within the classroom and at the Writing Center. You may want to include real examples of invitations and stationery for inspiration. Pizza paintings. This is often a student favorite. Of course, this one connects to Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. You can talk about the different parts of a pizza that Little Red Hen created and that students should include in their paintings: the crust, sauce, cheese, and all the other toppings. Students can use paint for the toppings, or they can glue toppings on that are made out of construction paper. If they will be gluing toppings on, here's a tip. Mix glue and red paint together to make your sauce, and then all of your toppings will stick to the sauce. Here are some more views of pizza painting. So this activity can be done either at the table or the easel. You can use a combination of pre-cut pieces and pieces that students cut out on their own for toppings. A scrapbooking circle punch works great for cutting out pepperoni pieces. And paintings could be done on cardstock or even on paper plates. Next, we have chalk drawing and texture rubbing. Chalk drawing connects to Matthew and Tilly. In the story, Matthew and Tilly play hopscotch and sidewalk games together by drawing them out with chalk. Students will create their own drawings with chalk. You can talk about how the chalk drawings are similar to and different to paintings and other art activities. Texture rubbings will connect to Matthew and Tilly also. Tilly's crayon broke in the story, and for texture rubbings, you can use broken crayons or whole ones to create the texture rubbings. Here you will model how to hold the crayon and rub over the texture using the side of the crayon rather than the tip of the crayon that students usually use. Collaborative paintings and creation. What a wonderful activity to have in a unit all about friendship, having friends work together to create pieces of art. You'll connect collaborative paintings to Matthew and Tilly. They collaborate together and create and play their games. You can connect collaborative creations to Hooray a Piñata. In the story, Clara and Samson collaborate to create hats and decorations for her birthday party. Students will use all the beautiful stuff that you've collected to create their collaborative pieces. Crayon resist. This one comes up in week 4, connecting to Matthew and Tilly as well. And you can make connections to other art pieces and art techniques you've used already this school year. Matthew and Tilly color and create with crayons. You will talk about the students' artwork created with crayons and previous projects with watercolors and bringing those two together with crayon resist. Here's another tip. Consider adding magnifying glasses for students to examine the crayon resist. In library in Unit 2, you will research recipes and create a piñata and explore a piñata book. Researching recipes connects to Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. You will introduce students to cookbooks and recipes. You could consider asking families to send in recipes and make a classroom cookbook. Also, there is a resource to print for a recipe book resource. Not pictured here, we have the Piñata book, which is introduced in the Library Center in week 3, which connects to Hooray and Piñata. There is also a resource for that to add to your library. The Discovery Center in Unit 2. Students will be washing dishes, molding sand, and making roads and sidewalks. Washing dishes connects with Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. Her friends help her by washing the dishes after they eat their pizza. You will introduce the steps to washing dishes, and this center is a great opportunity to introduce interesting vocabulary words such as sudsy and lather. molding sand, and roads and sidewalks. After washing dishes, your Discovery Center will change to sand for the next few activities, molding sand and roads and sidewalks. With molding sand, you'll make connections to Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. The Little Red Hen uses tools to shape, make, and even cut her pizza. Students will get to experiment with using tools and moistening the sand to help mold it. Roads and Sidewalks connects to a few stories. Matthew and Tilly played games on the sidewalks. In Hooray a Pinata, Claire and her mother traveled on the roads to get to her grandmother's house. And the crew in Road Builders constructed the roads. Remind students that the road builders crew had a plan to follow to build their roads. Challenge students to plan how they will build their roads and sidewalks in the Discovery Center. Next up, the Manipulative Center. Classroom Friends puzzles, sorting objects, and Classroom Friends memory match. We will look at a few of those. Classroom Friends puzzles and sorting are both pictured here. All of our core stories in the unit about friends are about friends. So you will introduce Classroom Friend puzzle in week 1, and you can make connections to all the stories read so far. Later in weeks 3 and 4, students will play Classroom Friend memory match, also connecting to all the core stories. When you introduce sorting objects, you can make connections to Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza and how she had similar items together when she was making her pizza. For example, the cooking tools, the different ingredients. Students will sort various objects, introduce them to the term attributes, and draw attention to the different attributes that they could sort by. Writing and drawing in Unit 2. Writing on stationery, documenting a process, and a class book about friends. Writing on stationery will be introduced in week 1 and make connections to a letter to Amy. Peter wrote an invitation to Amy for his birthday party. Students may want to write invitations or letters on their stationery. Use the illustrations in the book to highlight that Peter needed a stamp to mail his invitation to Amy. Consider including a mailbox in your center so students can pretend to mail their letters and invitations. Documenting a process. In week 2, you will introduce documenting a process in the Writing Center and make connections to the Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. She had to follow the steps or a process to make her pizza. Use the template provided to have students document the process of getting dressed for winter, or have them document another process that may be meaningful to them or meaningful in your classroom. This one includes a template and a picture resource. Outdoor learning and nature extensions in Unit 2. Chipmunks and squirrels, seed dispersal, migrate, activate, hibernate, bubbling pine cone. The weekly grids have nature activities, and there is a document with additional activities. Consider adding natural loose parts to your block center and other centers, and encourage students to collaborate to build and create with them. Some small groups that come up in Unit 2. Making pizzas, friendship pictures, dough letters, sorting groceries, vocab picture word match, upper and lowercase letter match, pinata paper mache, making lemonade, vocabulary picture cards, decorating a pinata, and celebration invitations. There are numerous small group activities focusing on the unit concepts as well as on literacy and math concepts. Typically, you would run these with 3 groups per day: an independent group, a group with lower teacher support, and then a group with mid to high teacher support needed. Students go to 1 group per day, so the group activities change after 3 days. We will explore a few of the group activities. And before we do that, supporting language and vocabulary in small groups, just like all the other lesson plans, vocabulary is highlighted here for you. And then there are some suggested guiding questions for you to offer during the small groups to encourage discussion and deeper thinking. Okay, small groups. These are all looking at making lemonade, one of our small group lessons. Matthew and Tilly enjoyed lemonade together in that story. This group also connects to previous topics of recipes and making pizzas. Students will follow the steps of the recipe to make the lemonade. Use the resource provided for the visual steps. Compare making lemonade to making pizzas and to foods that students may have helped their families make. A couple other small groups pictured here, painting the piñata and dough letters. In week 3, students make piñatas using paper mache. This connects to Hooray a Piñata. In week 4, the students get to decorate their piñata. This can be done with tissue paper, paint, or any other creative material you want to try. Compare decorating the piñata to when students created and decorated their piggy banks in Unit 1. Another small group activity is dough letters, connecting to Little Red Hen. Students make letters using dough, similar to pizza dough. This can even be done with Play-Doh. Use the book to remind students of the Little Red Hen kneading the dough and rolling the dough before she made it into a crust. Students can knead and roll the dough before creating their letters. Some let's find out about it topics: cooking pans and utensils, from farm to table, beautiful stuff, grocery store jobs, road builders, markets around the world, advertisement signs, loveys, invitations to celebrations, celebration expectations, and celebration jobs and tasks. So students will learn more information about the concepts introduced within the read-alouds. These groups sometimes include a nonfiction book. The learning experienced in Let's Find Out About It can be applied to activities in centers, small groups, and really throughout your day. As a reminder, most of the Let's Find Out About It lessons also include a printable resource. Again, we see that the lesson plan highlights vocabulary, questions, and discussion points to support students' vocabulary, language, and concept development. SWIPLN is the whole group activity working on phonological awareness, language and literacy, and math skills. You will revisit songs, poems, and games from Unit 1, as well as introduce new ones. Remember that SWIPLN activities have materials to prep ahead of time. And some tips for Unit 2. Many lessons contain resources and/or templates. Be sure to check those out and print them as needed ahead of time. Send home the letter about beautiful stuff early on so that you will be prepared when those come in. Some helpful links: Pre-K for Me Unit 2, Pre-K for Me, and the DOE Early Learning webpage. If you have any questions regarding Pre-K for Me, you can contact Marcy Whitcomb at the contact information there. And here is how you can find the Maine Department of Education online. Thank you.